Good morning, everybody. This is James, and welcome back to the Conversations on Content podcast. Hope everybody can hear me well. If you can hear me, say hello in the chat. Thank you for joining us. We appreciate everybody coming by. We are having a great day. It's a bit chilly here. It's only 31 degrees right now here in Texas. I know other parts of the country are a lot colder, but here in Texas, that's freaking cold for us. Hope you're having a fantastic day. Today, we're going to be talking about thumbnails. We've been doing thumbnails all week long, and today we're going to be talking about 5 huge mistakes that we've made with our thumbnails and we've seen other people making to create more content, to avoid these mistakes yourself so that you can continue to grow as a content creator and you can improve the content you're putting out. For those of you that are new here, if you don't know who I am, my name is James, and I help people build their YouTube channels, create more in content, and create the mindset necessary to succeed. This is our Conversations on Content that we do every Friday, and we help you to build your YouTube channel. So one of the things that we're going to be doing is we're going to be talking about our thumbnails. You know, one of the things that we've done over the last year and a half, 2 years, as we've been working on YouTube is thumbnails. We hear about thumbnails, and they're one of the most important parts of your success and failure on YouTube. But before we dive into that, let's talk about the question of the day. We start off every show kind of asking you a question. And if you're watching this on the replay, leave us a comment below. If you're watching this on the live stream, leave us a comment in the chat. What is the biggest struggle that you have in your thumbnail design? What is it that you would like to learn? We're trying to use this so that we can create better thumbnails and create more videos to help people with specific techniques or specific tricks in their thumbnail design. And we're going to be talking about thumbnail design a lot today because that's kind of the core of these mistakes is in your overall design and how you are designing them. Good morning, our good friend Adrian. Thank you for joining us today. Hope you're having a fantastic day. You know, we've been really honing in on thumbnail design for the last few weeks. And one of the things I want to talk about is why are thumbnails so important. Before we dive into the mistakes that we've made, your thumbnails, there's kind of this trifecta of content. And we're going to be talking about this trifecta throughout the show. But the focus is on the thumbnails, but there's kind of 3 areas that have to work together to really have a successful video. One of the things that we've been diving into, because the 3 most important things are your impressions, your click-through rate, and your watch time. And the way to work those 3 together to get more impressions is the best way to increase your impressions, which is how many people YouTube is showing your video to, is to increase your click-through rate and your watch time. And the way to do that, the best way to do that we found is by focusing on your title, your thumbnail, and your opening hook, that what you do in the first minute of your video. And they all 3 work together to get people to watch your video, to get people to see the start of your video, and then to keep them watching your video. You have to get all 3 of those working together. And when you do, that's where these videos just really explode and start getting tons of views. And we don't have a lot of videos with those explosive views. It's one of the areas we're focusing right now. A lot of our attention is working all 3 of those areas on our own videos to try to get that explosive growth, to try to get that massive view count. But you've got to get your watch time up. You've got to get your click-through rate up. And when those 2 go up, your impressions are going to go up because YouTube's going to start showing your videos to more people because more people are enjoying your content. So that's part of where the importance of your thumbnails comes in, because if your thumbnails, the purpose of the thumbnail is not to share a whole ton of information. Got some more people sliding through. Hello, Julie. You are coming in now, And hello, Chuck. Thank you for joining us. Your Julie, your message. This one showed up. That's the first message that came in from you, though. I don't know. I know YouTube chat's been having some issues lately with people's stuff not showing up. So, when you're creating videos, though, that thumbnail is so important because the thumbnail is what's going to determine. You can have the absolute best video ever created on YouTube, but if your thumbnails don't grab people's attention, then they're not ever going to see it. So, yeah, you need to work on your videos, but honestly, that first trifecta, the title, the thumbnail, and that first minute of the video, honestly, get more work than the rest of the video production. You can have a 30-minute video, and I'll still spend more time on the title, the thumbnail, and that first minute than all the rest of the video put together. So what's going on? So for those of y'all that just joined us, we just asked our question today. What is the biggest struggle that you're having? Is it a specific technique you're trying to learn? Is it trying to understand overall design? What is your biggest struggle with your thumbnails? And what are you doing? What is your click-through rate like? What kind of clicks are you getting? You've got to get the average, they say, on the platform is between 2 and 10%. My personal experience is if you fall below about 6%, then YouTube stops showing it to more people. So you've got to really focus on building that up. But again, one of the things that we always talk about with the mindset stuff is think about progress, not perfection. So maybe you were getting thumbnails that were getting like a 1%. Like when we started focusing on, we were getting about 1.5 to 2% click-through rates. Then we started making some tweaks. We started making some changes. We started testing some different designs, and we moved up to about 3%. Well, that's nowhere near where I need it to be, but it was progress. And then we got it up to about 5%. And we tested some more, and we tested some different designs. And we had some designs that we put out that got like 12%, which was huge. But then you also got to look at click-through rate. You also have to look at the number of impressions you're getting, because you can have 20 impressions and 100% click-through rate, and that doesn't mean much. But if you're getting, 1,000 impressions and you've got a 5 to 10% click-through rate, that's pretty good. So you have to put it in perspective and look at the whole picture. You can't just look at one metric. And then are you keeping people engaged once you get them in? Your thumbnail should tell a story and make a promise to the viewer. And we're going to talk about how to do that as we go through the show today. But one of the things that you have to do is you have to tell a story with your thumbnail and get people's attention. And then you have to fulfill the promise of that thumbnail immediately when people come into your video. If there's a disconnect between your thumbnail and the promise you're making in your thumbnail and the intro of your video, that may be why you have a high drop-off rate. So that's one of the things that we have to do, is we have to make sure that we are increasing that. And Chuck says that his is 4.9%. And actually, for a small channel, that's not too bad. Continue improving, continue growing. Maybe look at some of the things that we're going to talk about today in your own thumbnail design, because I've seen some of your thumbnails. And yours aren't bad. I've seen worse, but there's a few tweaks that could make them better. And we're going to talk about some of those tweaks actually today in the show. So, let's see. So there was the question of the day for those of y'all that came in. What was your biggest struggle with thumbnails? And the entire purpose of the thumbnail is not to give a ton of information. It's to get the click. It's to get people to click on your video and see what you have to say. So the number one mistake that we see with most thumbnails is poor image quality. And this is something, if your background image or the image of you is all pixelated, it's hard to see. It's hard to tell what it is. That's one of the big mistakes that we've had. And we've done this ourselves. One of the things that we did early on when we started the storage scavenger we struggled a lot to get people to watch. Well, most of our thumbnails were just a screen grab somewhere out of the video. And that didn't work very well because I was shooting everything on my phone and I was just using the default settings on my phone. I didn't know any better. Well, and I can't tell you every single phone, every single piece of gear, but whatever equipment you're using, you need to dive in because usually the default settings are not the highest quality settings. And you need to really maximize the quality of your productions, of your videos with the equipment you have. I don't recommend buying a ton of fancy gear, especially if you're just starting out, but I do recommend learning the quality settings inside your phone. One of the things that we started doing to improve that was we started going in and adjusting our settings in our phone, and we started taking specific pictures instead of just doing a screen grab. We started taking pictures to get us a higher quality thumbnails. And so now I might do 20 or 30 pictures to come up with one thumbnail. And one of the other things that we recommend is maybe putting out 4 or 5 thumbnails for one video and then picking the best one and maybe even switching them out every couple of days to see which one's getting the best response. If you have the TubeBuddy Legend level account, which I don't, but they have in there a feature called the A/B split tester where you can upload a couple of thumbnails and they'll actually do that switching out for you. Otherwise, like we have to do it manually. So I'll put a thumbnail out there and then after a day, I'll put another thumbnail up there and we'll watch our click-through rate and our impression count and see which one performs better. And we might have 3 or 4 that we say. Your click-through rate says 16%. Well, that can be good. It depends, though, on what's your impression count. Because 16% with 5 impressions is a huge difference between 16% with 1,000 impressions. So if you're getting a high impression count and a 16% click-through rate, you're doing really, really well with your thumbnails. But if you're getting a 16% with 20 impressions, well, that doesn't say a whole lot. So you have to look at the impression. Again, look at that whole picture. Look at your impressions and your click-through rate. Good morning, Amber. And it could be restream. It could be the cold weather. I'm not sure why there's a drag. I know I was not as prepared for today's show as I wanted to be because I was in the middle of preparing for today's show, making my slides and everything. And our power went out yesterday. And we were without power until about 6 o'clock last night. Impressions is 7,000. So 7,000 impressions with a 16% click-through rate. That's really, really good. And then, but you also want to look at not just your channel overall, look at your individual videos. Overall on this channel is 3.9%. Yeah. Mine's up. Mine's at about 2.9% right now, but it's up because it was at like 0.5% for the channel overall. But then again, you want to break it down as you're looking at individual videos because as you improve, that's going to go up, but it's still factoring in all those low click-through rate impressions that you had in your early videos. So as you add more and more and more content, those numbers should be going up. So one of the biggest mistakes, one of the first mistakes is poor image quality. Make sure that you get the sharpest image quality you can, and make sure, like when we use Canva, use those sharpening features. We did some videos where we showed you how we did this earlier this week, so I'm not going to go through how to do it, but make sure you're using those things. Sharpen your images, work on the color gradings, add a little bit more color, add some more brightness to it. Do those features, use those features on your images, and it's going to help make your thumbnails pop and stand out and make that picture as good as it can get. And the higher the quality of the image, of course, if you had better gear, if I had better gear, my thumbnails could be a whole lot better than they are, just because I had better gear. But you want to do the absolute best you can with the gear that you have. So again, work on learning how to do those settings. Every phone settings is different if you're using your phone. Every camera setting is different depending on what camera you have. So work on that. Number two, though, people try to crowd way too much information. And I made this mistake. When I was running auctions, I would have what kind of items we had for sale today. And we would put what time our auction started and what time we planned to go and how many lots we had. And there was just all this information I was trying to crowd into my thumbnails. Well, one, you have to remember about 70 to 80% of all views come on a mobile device on YouTube. And you can look in your own analytics and see what your rate is, but across the platform, it's about 70 to 80% of all views come on a mobile device. So when they scrunch that thumbnail down to a really small size, if you've got all that information on there, it can be really overwhelming and it can be really hard to read. So I recommend now you shouldn't have more than 2 or 3 words on your thumbnails, and try to get it down to what it is. Again, one of the big things, and we're going to talk about this one in just a little bit, is, don't put too many words on your thumbnails. So, and it should complement your title. Look at today's. Today's didn't say anything about my keyword or my title. My thumbnail for today's video was oops. And it was about because it works with the title, because the title is 5 mistakes to avoid with your thumbnails. And my thumbnail is just me going, oops. Because these are mistakes that we made ourselves as we were growing, as we were learning. These are all mistakes that we've made ourselves. And as we've improved these things in our thumbnails, our click-through rates have steadily gone up. So too much information. You should put as little text, and the information doesn't have to necessarily be text either. I've seen people that do like a collage of pictures on their thumbnails. Maybe they're doing recipes and they're showing a collage of different steps in the recipe, or they're doing different types of food that they're talking about. And they've got like all these different food pictures or different items. I've seen a lot of the auction channels that try to put a picture of every single item they're putting up for bid on there. That's too much information, and it just becomes a cluttered mess instead of being a clear picture. You want to pick one clear image that's the focus. Maybe if you're doing an auction or a sale, or if you're doing a thrift haul or something, you pick the best item that you have and showcase that in your thumbnail instead of doing a whole bunch of everything. You want to keep it as simple as possible. Yeah, the last 28 days. Yeah. And I look at the last 28 days. I also look at the lifetime. Again, I also don't look at the overall very much on my channel. I just look at specific videos and what the specific thumbnails on specific videos are doing. I mean, you can look at the overall, and that can kind of give you an average over your channel, but you really want to look at the specific thumbnails on each individual video. Because YouTube treats each individual video, it's weird how they look at it, because they treat each individual video as its own thing, but at the same time they put a lot of weight on how your current audience reacts to your new content with the initial push of your videos. So say if I put out a video and I have my 120 subscribers, and I put out a video and 10 people watch that video, or if I put out a video and 50 people watch that video, they're going to put more weight on the video that got 50 people from my subscribers than the one that got 10, because that video got more attention from the existing audience I've already got. So they're going to push that video out more to new people, which is initially what we want. Now, that doesn't mean over time that those videos won't perform well. Like I just did a whole series I knew wasn't going to perform well. I did a beginner's guide to YouTube. Well, most of the people that I have in my audience already have a YouTube channel. So that a very beginner strategy I knew wasn't going to perform well with the existing audience I've already got. But the whole purpose of that series is to bring in new audience and to have content as I get new subscribers that haven't started a YouTube channel yet. I've got a place to send them to help them get started and get them through those initial stages. So I knew that series wasn't going to perform well out of the gate with my existing audience. And so because of that, YouTube wasn't going to push it out as much, but it's going to sit there in 6 months, in a year, as I gain more authority in the niche, as YouTube starts realizing serving it out to more people, those hopefully will perform better over a long period of time. Good morning, Tommy. I hope you're having a fantastic day. Thanks for joining us. So, again, but back to this, don't put too much information. You don't have to put your entire posting schedule. You don't have to put your auction start times or your show. If you're doing a live show, don't put your every Wednesday or all your social media stuff on your thumbnails. The entire purpose of the thumbnail is to get somebody to click on your video. Put all that information in your description for people to find. And then in your show, you can you direct people to that description to find all that information. But you don't want to put all that stuff on your thumbnail. And that's one of the things we did with our auctions. When we were still running auctions, we were putting all that information on our thumbnails, and it was just such a cluttered mess, and you really couldn't even read it. So and those thumbnails, we were getting like a 1.5% click-through rate. When we went down to just putting 2 or 3 words in a clear picture, our thumbnail for our auctions went from getting a 1.5 to about a 7 or 8% click-through rate for our auctions. And our auction viewership started going up because we had a better, more clear thumbnail. Number 3 kind of goes along with that, which is putting your entire title in your thumbnail. The words you should use as few words as possible. It should enhance your title, but it shouldn't restate your title. The title tells you the title. You just want to put something that's compelling, that's relevant to your keywords, that's relevant to your niche, but it should tell a story that enhances your title, not reclaim your title. Let the title be the title. People are going to read your title and decide if they want it, and they're going to click your thumbnail. So they should work together to get more people's attention. The less words you put on your thumbnails, the better they will perform. In most cases, as long as you get these other 2. So, hope that makes sense. You know, one of the things that we've done is we started just trying to figure out what's the connection we can make between our title and thumbnail. And this is one of the keys to doing that. One of the big things that's missing is any kind of emotional connection. Do you make an emotional connection with the audience with your thumbnails? When you make an emotional connection with people, they're going to be more willing to click. And there's 2 sides of the emotional connection that you can use with your thumbnails to get more people clicking on your thumbnails. Number 1, how do they feel right now? You know, we talk about, we work with a lot of educational content, but even entertainment content, it's evoking some kind of emotion. But with educational content, you know, we're here to help people solve a problem. People are going to search for your content. They're going to be trying to solve a problem. When people are, you know, struggling with something, that's what our content is about as educators, is we're trying to help people overcome some kind of a problem. So when you can connect with how they feel about it, that's going to get more clicks. You also think about things like controversy. The reason controversy works is because controversy drives a lot of emotion. Mystery works because it drives an emotional connection to try to learn more about that mystery. These things work. It's because of that emotional connection that you make through your thumbnails. So you want to bring something into those words, your imagery, everything that you do that evokes emotion. That's why we use the crazy, exaggerated emotional pictures, and a lot of people hate them. I hate them too. You know, what they call the YouTube face. The reason it works, and it only works if it's used in context properly, But the reason that works to get a lot of clicks and why we keep reusing those emotional connections is because it makes an emotional connection with people and they click on it. So the two sides of the emotion is how do they feel right now at the beginning when they're in the middle of that problem? And when you can display that, that really helps to connect people. But then also, how do they want to feel once they solve this problem? So if you can show, this is how I feel, look, I got 100 subscribers and, we're all happy because we're excited because we got more subscribers to our channel. If you can show that emotion in your thumbnail, you're going to get more clicks. So show the emotion of how they feel starting out or how they feel, or the best one of the best ones, the before and after picture. This is why, especially like a lot of weight loss channels, you see a lot of thumbnails where they do like, really excited, and you get the before picture and how bad they feel. And then you get the after picture and you show the results and you show how excited they feel, how great they feel. When you can make them on that journey through your thumbnail, then you get more clicks. People are going to be more compelled to watch what you have to say. So get that emotional connection. And then one of the worst ones is your color choices. And I did a video when I did my text video just yesterday. If you didn't see that, we actually showed some ways to offset those color choices. But you've got to make sure you have contrasting colors to your background. Make sure that text pops off the page. Again, most thumbnails are going to be viewed on a mobile device. So that color, if it kind of blends in on a big screen, then when it's truncated down, it's going to blend in even more. It's going to be unreadable. And people aren't going to click. People aren't going to be able to see what your video is about. So they're going to just go watch something else. So you want to use contrasting colors, and you want to use bright, vibrant colors for your text, and maybe more darker, muted colors for the background, and really make that text pop off the page. The same is true with even your imagery. Make sure that the imagery isn't blending in the background. Make sure your imagery is standing out. That's why we do the outline around our body to make ourselves stand out more. And we always try to choose a contrasting color to the background to make that outline really pop and stand out. If I have a really bright background, I might use a black or a really dark color for that outline. If I have a really dark background, I might use a really bright white, bright yellow, something that gets attention outline. And that way it really makes it stand out and pop off the page. Same thing with your text. If you're doing text outlines, you want to contrast your text outline with the base color of the text, but also make sure it doesn't blend in with the background of your text. And you can do that with those little color boxes that we showed how to do. You can do that with a lot of different effects. But you really want to make it stand out. You want to make it vibrant and make it as much as you can. You missed number 3. You struggle with the color choices. And we struggle with that a lot. That's when we started putting the little boxes behind our text. That way we can make sure that they stand out a little bit more. And you can even use that color box to give the contrast, but put some transparency on it so that you can still see through it and see the imagery behind it. Number 3. Let's go back to number 3 real quick. Let's see which one was. Nope, that one too. Nope, that's number 4. There it is. Go back to the chat. Check off the screen. So number 3 is putting your title in your thumbnail. One of the biggest mistakes we made, and we see a lot of other people making, is trying to cram their entire title into their thumbnail. The thumbnail should just be 1 or 2 words that complements the title, not putting the entire title in the thumbnail. So I hope that these are being helpful. We're gonna go to the chat, see if anybody's got any questions. If you're having any questions, if you're having any struggles with these areas, how to do these things, or if you have any other areas that you're struggling with your thumbnails, leave me a comment in the chat and let me know what you think. Let me know what you have questions about, what you want me to go into a little bit deeper. But your most important factor with your thumbnails is that click-through rate, getting that click-through rate up. And again, one of the things that we do with our thumbnails is we test. So I might make 5 different thumbnails for one video, and we'll just rotate those videos out and see what's getting more clicks. Now, it takes a lot more work if you don't have the TubeBuddy A/B split tester. So I have to actually write down what's my impression count when I put this thumbnail up, what my click-through rate when I put this thumbnail up. That way I can do the math and figure out what the new impressions and click-through rate are with the new thumbnail. I have to do all that manually. So it takes a little bit more work without a tool that does it for you, but it is possible. It just takes a little work. Yeah. If you use and be careful of green and red. Green and red are really, really horrible with some people. Some people can't see the green. I know some people say green and yellow text tends to work really well if you get a good contrasting color behind it. It depends on how you're designing your thumbnails. If you're doing the background remove, if you look at some of my thumbnails, I reuse some of the same imagery in multiple thumbnails. I try to spread it out some and not use them like back to back all the time. Like this one, like this series I just did, I used the same basic thumbnail pattern for the entire series. But I did that because it was a series and we were building that thumbnail throughout the series. So we used the same thumbnail pattern throughout the whole series as we were building it. But most of the time, I do use a different image for the different thumbnails. But it just depends. Sometimes you can do it, and sometimes you can use the same one, but maybe you flip the image so that you're in a different way, so it stands a little bit different. And then one of the other things that kind of goes along with this, I've mentioned this several times. Don't forget this lower quarter in your thumbnail. So the lower right-hand corner of your thumbnails, make sure you leave that area kind of blank. Don't put any information in there that's important or imagery that's important because nobody's going to see it, because that's where that little timestamp box goes. And I've had to do this on my own thumbnails. I've had thumbnails I've had to go back and redo because when I look at them, some of my text is on that side. I've gotten to where I put my text more on the left-hand side. But some videos it does performs better if I put the text on the left, and sometimes it performs better if I put the text on the right. But if I put the text on the right, I have to make sure that it's all in that upper quadrant and not falling down below where that timestamp is going to cover it up. And this is, I'm always saying, always be testing. Sometimes the only difference in a thumbnail design between two different thumbnails is did I put the text on the left and the imagery on the right, or did I put the imagery on the right? And sometimes I just flip them and test both and see what works. Because different times, different thumbnails are going to perform differently. You can't just put together a cookie cutter template and say, this is the same thumbnail we're going to use all the time, because it might perform really well on some videos, but it doesn't on others. And again, remember that I talk about this quite a bit, but YouTube is not judging your thumbnails against your other videos. They're not judging how to rank this particular video against the other videos on your channel. They're based on how that thumbnail is performing compared to the other videos ranking for that exact same keyword that you're targeting. When it comes to recommended content, they're recommending it based on how well that video is performing compared to the other videos they're recommending right next to it. This is why whenever I do videos, whenever I do my initial research, I watch those other videos. I look at their thumbnails, I look at their titles, I look at everything that they do. I watch those videos before I create anything for my video, because that's going to tell me these are the videos I'm competing against. If you really think about it, a lot of people look at how many videos are competing for that term. I'm not competing against 1,000 videos or 1,000,000 videos. I'm competing against 3. Those top 3 in the search rankings are the only ones that matter, because those are the ones you're competing with. The rest of them don't matter. If you can beat those top 3, you win the game. If you can't beat those top 3, you lose. Yes, your text fonts along with your colors. And I should have mentioned that along with it. But the font, you should use clean fonts and the colors. Those kind of work together. But absolutely the text, when you use these fancy scripts, I know they look pretty, and you can have some really beautiful thumbnails with all that fancy script, and nobody can read it because they can't see it on a mobile device. So that's one of the things. And I know a lot of people that use all these fancy fonts and fancy text on their thumbnails. Gotta run. All right, Adrian, that's fine. Thank you for stopping by. I hope you're having a fantastic day. Stay warm up there. We trying to stay warm down here. Not helping much. I got like 5 layers of shirts on right now, trying to stay warm, because it doesn't get this cold in Texas. We don't have super heavy cold weather clothes because we don't get this cold. We're supposed to get even colder. I mean, we do get this cold like once or twice a year. We're just below freezing right now. It's supposed to drop down into the single digits. And I think it's the first time I've seen single digit weather here in Texas in like 10 years. It doesn't happen very often that we get this cold. I mean, we usually get a good freeze where it gets down into the 20s, it gets down into the teens. Getting down into single digits, I think it's happened once in the last 10 years. So, we can handle 110, 115 degree heat. We do that all the time. But we can't handle the cold. It gets down to freezing and they want to shut the entire state down. Schools are already closing because it's too cold. And I'm like, see, and I talk to friends in other parts of the country and they're like, what do you mean y'all are shut down? It's just a little cold up there. But for here, we can deal with the heat. They can deal with the cold. So I hope y'all are having some help. I hope that this helps you to understand your thumbnails just a little bit better. Again, it's something we're constantly improving. We're not masters at this. We're just, we're sharing what we've learned through these last couple of months, really honing in on our own thumbnails. Those colors, those color combinations, your text combinations. We've been doing this and we've been able to bump our click-through rate up to where now we're getting on average about a 7 to 8%. Some of our thumbnails are performing even higher than that. I've got some of my thumbnails from earlier this week. Right now we're at about 14, 15%, with a few hundred. Great. I'm glad that that's helping, Chuck. Thank you so much. Some of ours are performing at 14, 15% with a few hundred impressions. Some of them are still at about 6 or 7%, but we're still above where we were. We were at 1.5 to 2% just a couple of months ago, and that's one of the things that we focused a ton of time and attention on is thumbnail design, learning how to do better thumbnails. We just did a whole series in Canva Pro showing some of the features that we use within Canva, some of the ways we use Canva to create our thumbnails. We've got a few different tools that we use. Canva is one of them. TubeBuddy does have a thumbnail creator, but I don't particularly like their thumbnail creator. I actually did some thumbnails in the TubeBuddy thumbnail creator, and none of them have performed very well. Some of it could be just limitations of my design skills at the time. But some of it's also, it's using screen grabs, which again, I don't recommend using screen grabs out of your video. I recommend taking independent pictures and boosting up the quality of those pictures as much as you can. And making the best thumbnail you can. And then just study. I'm always studying the other thumbnails that I'm competing against. And some of them they rank because of the authority of the channels, but some of it is just because they have much better thumbnail design. The reason they have that authority is because they got better design, they got better clicks. And so that's one of those things. We're trying to find that balance between building our authority and getting those clicks and getting people to share and like what we're doing. The more people engage with your content, whether it's your thumbnails or your video itself, the more YouTube's going to show it out to more people. So you got to get those clicks first. The more clicks you can get, the more you can get rankings, the more you can get shared out, the more you can get search traffic. You can get recommended traffic, you can get browse traffic. And like one of the things a lot of people don't realize, like even with your live streams, like when we do these lives, one of the things I have found is YouTube sends out notifications to a percentage of my subscribers, even if you have that bell clicked. The only way to guarantee you're going to get a notification when that live goes is to actually go to the page beforehand and set reminder that the live is coming up. That's the only 100% guarantee that you're going to get that live stream. Even having the bell notification on, sometimes I get the notification, but sometimes it's 45 minutes to an hour after the live stream starts before I get that notification. And what YouTube does is they send out a series of notifications as soon as you go live. And based on how people are responding to that live stream, 45 minutes to an hour later, they'll send out another round of notifications. And then they'll send out another round of notifications a couple of hours later. So this is why if you're doing live streams, you might have a wave of traffic that comes in 45 minutes to an hour after you started, because they sent out another round of notifications to your subscribers to let them know that you're live. But you've already been live for 45 minutes. They already missed half the show if you're doing an hour show. This is why sometimes we go live, because sometimes I get more traffic in the middle and the end of a live stream than I do during the beginning, because more people got that notification. And then it's also, again, if they're going to be looking at your click-through rate, and then even your title, your thumbnail, your hashtags, if you use hashtags, your tags, those are going to help with your lives or with your videos with the initial push, with them showing it to new people. Sometimes we get something that just hits just right and we get enough engagement in the chat. This is why we always try to get some engagement going with the chat, get people talking, because the more people are engaging and talking, the more YouTube's pushing it out, not only to your subscribers, but to new people, to people that don't know you, showing up in recommended feeds, showing up in people's feed on their homepage because they watch similar content, showing up on recommended content next to other videos while you're live, showing up in search while you're live, showing up in other places when you're on a live stream. Being that autoplay that auto plays when somebody finishes a live, and being the one that they pop up, because as soon as you finish a live, I don't know if you've ever noticed this, they always send you to another channel that's live, and it's usually something that's relevant to the type of content. It may not be a channel you're subscribed to, but it's going to be something that's relevant to the type of content you watch on a regular basis on YouTube. So I've noticed that a lot. Whenever somebody finishes a live stream, another live stream will automatically play, and it's usually somebody that's relevant to the niches that I watch content on regularly. So maybe it's another reselling channel that's live, or maybe it's somebody on mindset or personal development, because I watch a lot of that kind of content on YouTube. Maybe it's somebody on fitness and stuff because I watch some of that kind of content on YouTube, and it may be another YouTube growth channel that's on, and it may be somebody I've never heard of before, and all of a sudden, it's a great way to find new channels. I've done this before, and I've found several new channels. In fact, I was watching one. I was at Shelly Saves the Day yesterday. She does her Thursday night live stream. And when she ended the live stream, it auto played a new channel I had never heard of. They've got about 10,000 subscribers, and they're doing YouTube growth strategies. And I had never heard of this channel before. And I sat and watched their live stream. They did a really good show. I wound up subscribing to their channel. So that autoplay live stream, it can be a great way to find new channels that you don't know. But you also think about it, okay, when it comes to your live stream, the more engagement you're getting with your chat, the more engagement you're getting with people, the longer you're keeping people on your stream, the more YouTube's going to promote you in those places. The reason why these big, huge channels wind up in those spaces all the time is because they're getting more views. If you think about it, if I have a live stream where I'm showing 5 people watching my stream right now. And I don't know where all 5 of these people are watching. It just shows that I've got 5 people watching. We're multi-streaming right now to Facebook, Twitter, Periscope, and YouTube. So I could have one video viewer on each one. Or I could have everybody watching us on YouTube. But the more people that are watching on YouTube, when another live ends, YouTube's going to say, hey, this is something that's relevant to you. They're live. They've got a lot of viewers watching their stream. You might be interested in this content too. And they're going to autoplay that stream next. If Nick Nimitz live, I guarantee you he's going to be putting that spot before I will, because he's got, 300 or 400 people watching his live stream when I've got 3. Hey, Gary. Hope you're having a great day. Thank you guys so much. I hope your massage went well. I was watching Donna's auction, and she was talking about how you sent some stuff to her, but you couldn't make it. And I understand your anniversary is important. Mine is Sunday. Jessica and I have our anniversary Sunday. It's going to be freezing cold. We're not going to be able to go anywhere. We're not going to have a nurse because our nurse has already called off for the weekend. So, we got some steaks from the grocery store, got some baked potatoes, we got some salad, and I'm going to make steak. I'm going to make her a steak dinner for Valentine's Day for our wedding anniversary, because we were married on Valentine's Day. So, and for those of you that, guys, I know a lot of people are resellers, and in the reselling community, our friend Robin, I don't know if you guys heard, Robin from Because She Shed has been in the hospital. She got released yesterday. She's back home now. She had an aneurysm earlier this week. We just did a auction for her, a charity auction for her to help her with her medical expenses and stuff. But y'all keep her in your prayers. She is recovering. She's doing better, but she's still got a long road to go. So y'all keep Robin in your thoughts and prayers. And hello, Pixie, Destiny. I hope you're having a fantastic day. But yeah, Robin's been doing. She was on live last night with Rhonda, and she seemed to be doing better, but she's still got a long road of recovery to go. So y'all keep her in prayers, and if you have a little bit extra of something that you would like to help her out, she does have over on her channel. They've got a donation set up. For people that are wanting to help her out. But Robin's been a huge member of the community. She and I met. We did the very first collaboration we did. She and I met, and she and I become good friends. We stop and see her almost every time we're in Dallas, and she's a great person. She's doing a really good job with her creations, and she does a lot of video editing. She made our intro for Storage Scavenger channel. And so she's going through a rough time right now with that. But keep her in your thoughts and prayers. I hope everybody's having a fantastic day. I know a lot of y'all just came in. We're going to kind of run through our show. You're going to have to go back and watch the replay to catch the whole thing, but I'm going to do the super speed version of the 5 big things to watch out for on your thumbnails. And again, our question of the day, which we always start our show with, but for those of y'all that came in late, what is your biggest struggle with thumbnails? Are you having trouble with different elements or different techniques? And the number one mistake that a lot of people make is poor image quality. Make sure that you're maximizing the quality. Make sure you're not just using the base settings on your cameras or on your phones. Make sure you're maximizing those image qualities. Don't be crowding too much information. Don't be trying to throw your whole title, your whole thumbnails, all of your posting schedule, what time you're going live. All that stuff can go in your description. You need to keep as little text on your thumbnails as possible. And that goes along with it. Number 3, putting your titles in your thumbnails. This is just something that I see a lot of people try to do. They put their whole title in their thumbnail. The thumbnail is supposed to enhance the title. It tells a story that blends with the title. It's not the actual title itself. Try to keep the text as limited as possible. Number 4, make sure you're using compelling emotional language in your titles, in your thumbnails. The entire purpose of the thumbnail is to win the click. Where is it? I know I got a slide up here that says it. There it is. I'll find the right one eventually. Win the click. Why are your thumbnails important? Because it wins the click. That's the entire purpose of the thumbnail. It's not to tell the whole story. It's not to give away everything in your video. It's to get people to click and watch your video. That is the purpose of the thumbnail. Compelling emotional language, mystery, controversy, comparisons, whatever it is that's going to compel people. Find the problem that you're trying to solve, figure out what people are trying to get help with, and use your thumbnail to tell the story of how they feel now and how they're going to feel at the end of your video, at the end of completing what you're teaching in your video or what you're doing in your video. How do you want them to feel? You know, if you're doing an auction, pick 1 or 2 items that you got going up for auction and, showcase that 1 or 2 items. And sometimes you don't even need any words at all on your thumbnails to make your point. If you don't need any text, don't use any text. Maybe you just have 1 item that you're going to showcase. If you're doing an auction, maybe all you do is put a picture of that image up there and say up for sale. And you show that image. A lot of food channels, especially, we see this with food channels. They don't even put any words. They just show a picture of the finished food item that they're going to show you how to cook today. And that's what they use for their thumbnail. And they just, like, if they're doing like a juicy burger and you see that glistening burger with the juice running out of it, and that's all their thumbnail is. You just see the imagery of what they're going to learn how to produce. And then color choices, and we kind of added in along with this, the font choices and color choices you make for your text and your thumbnail have to contrast. You have to use contrast and make them stand out. If you're using a brown background, like I have kind of this brownish color, if I was to put a green text on there, it would blend in. If I was use a tan colored text, it would blend in and it wouldn't be readable. People wouldn't be able to see it. You got to make it vibrant and make that text contrast with the colors you're using in your thumbnail. So if you really want to go deeper onto it, go back and watch the replay. But that's kind of the 5 points we talked about today. You're suddenly hungry because I'm talking about food. That's the way it goes. And that's kind of what we wanted to cover. If you've got any questions, we're going to take questions. And if not, then we are going to, or if y'all just want to chat, hang out, chat. What is going on in your world? How cold is it where you are today? It is currently 28 degrees right here, right now. 28 degrees, which I know a lot of places in the country are a lot colder than that. But for us, that's freaking cold. We live in Texas for a reason because it's warm, it's hot. We like the heat. I can stand 110 degrees heat. I can be out in a storage unit with 110-degree heat all day. But it's freaking cold, and I can't step outside my front door for 2 minutes right now. And Gary's over there basking in the sunshine, probably. Minus 10 degrees, Chuck. Minus, I can't even imagine. I can't even imagine minus 10 degrees. That's just insane to me. How do people survive that? Lots of clothes, stay inside the heater. We were without power yesterday for about 5 hours. Luckily, it wasn't long enough to lose all of our heat in the house. My face hurt just walking to the car. I'm sure that's insane. Yesterday we were just freaking out because it was like in the 20s and we had no power in the house. We were using candles to light up the house around in the dark rooms that don't have windows. Of course, this was the middle afternoon, so we didn't have to light up the whole house. But we were starting to get worried because it was starting to get dark and we still didn't have power. They finally got us turned on, and evidently over half the city of Lockhart, which is where we live, was without power. A tree fell on a power line, we found out this morning, and blocked off a lot of the power. And has anybody seen Lady Luck Junk? Has anybody seen Danica on today or yesterday? There was 100. She lives in Fort Worth, Texas, and there was 100-car pileup in Fort Worth on the freeway yesterday. And I have not seen or heard from Danica. I even sent her a message on Facebook, and I haven't got a response from her. So I hope she's okay. But there was 100-car pileup. Semis flipped over. There was at least 5 fatalities. They were still trying to clean up the mess, the last I heard yesterday. But that was a huge pileup in Fort Worth yesterday. And I know that's where Danica lives. Yeah. But I haven't seen or heard from Danica, and that's right where she lives. She lives right near there. So I'm hoping she's okay, and I hope she wasn't involved in that. My brother lives up in that area as well. I talked to him last night, and they were home and safe, and nobody was involved in it. But I haven't seen or heard from Danica since then, so I'm hoping she's well. But so it's been a fun day. We've had a fun few days. For those of you that are just coming in, if you're catching this, if you happen to watch this video all the way this late, make sure you go back to our homepage and check out. We are doing a live Q&A session tomorrow. We're going to be taking questions. We already have, if you go check the video, set the reminder, and in the description, there's a form to fill out to get your questions answered. We're taking questions first come, first serve. So the first questions in are going to absolutely make it on the show. I already have a list of other questions I've pulled from some groups, and people have asked me in the comments. So I have some kind of seeded questions in case people don't pull out the form. I've already got a couple in the form. But if you go to that form, our live Q&A tomorrow, we're going to be doing tomorrow. It's going to be tomorrow night, around 10:30 at night. But go ahead and submit your questions about YouTube, anything YouTube related, having problems with growing, if it's about your thumbnails, if it's about your video titles, if it's anything. And if you put your videos in there, your channels, we might even pull up and do a few channel reviews while we're at it. We're just going to hang out, chat with everybody, answer some questions, maybe do a few channel reviews. So go ahead and fill out that form on that video. It's on our homepage already. So, and besides that, we are going to go, we've got really cold. We got the kids at home. They canceled school for today. Told you, Texas shuts down when it gets cold like this. They can't handle it. If it drops below 30, they start shutting down because we're not used to this kind of cold. So they shut down school. So we got the toddler home, and Jessica's got her hands full with Emily and Jesse. So I'm going to go help her. Those of y'all that join us tomorrow, and we will see y'all Monday. We've got one more video coming out in the Canva series in the thumbnail tutorial coming out on Monday. And then we're going to be starting on some talking about monetization. Our next series, we're going to be talking about monetization. I've got a lot of questions about affiliate marketing, brand deals, that kind of stuff. So I'm going to do a whole series on some ways to monetize your channel outside of AdSense. One of the things we're going to be talking about and strategies we're going to be talking about is how we monetize the storage scavenger, which is our auctions. We're going to be talking about how we ran our auctions, how we did our auctions, some good and bad things we learned about doing the auctions. I learned a lot of things about them. We spent the last year running auctions. That was our primary income over the last year, was the auctions we were doing on YouTube. And we had no clue what we were doing. We just made it up and learned as we went. So we're going to be sharing some of the things that we learned and some things that you can do if you want to run auctions or just buy it nows or any kind of sales for your reselling business or any kind of crafting business or anything like that. We're going to be talking about that. Our next series is ways to monetize your YouTube channel without relying on AdSense. So we're going to be talking about that over the next week or two. I got a lot of questions asked about it, so we got a lot of questions to answer about it. So that's our next series coming up. And other than that, we're going to go ahead and head off. Thank you guys so much for joining us today. I hope you have a fantastic day. We'll see you next time at Conversations on Content. Every Friday, 10:30 a.m. We may be changing the time up based on some feedback. If you watch this show all the way this long, very few people probably will, but let us know what's your favorite time. What's a good time of day for us to do the live show? We're trying to figure out a better time slot so we can get more people watching and get more engagement with people while we're actually live. So if you're interested in the show, if you've watched it this long, you got to be interested in the show, because nobody's going to watch it this long without being interested. But let us know what time is a good time for you so that we can do it live. Make sure to leave us a comment at the end of the video and let us know what your favorite time to go live would be. We'll see you next time on Conversations on Content.